This is Johnny and Jose with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight we'll be going over UFC Fight Night Smith versus Spann, giving you our thoughts, predictions on the entire card, starting with our prelim card opener, about at flyweight between Emily Spitfire Whitemire and Hannah 24 karat Goldy. Currently, the odds on this one, and mind you, this is the first time I'm reading the odds. Whitemire minus 120, come back on Hannah Goldy plus 100. Interesting bout between two ladies, basically a loser leaves town matchup. Hannah Goldy has not won in the UFC since she came in from the Contender Series, lost to Miranda Granger, who was a rangy, it's weird to say Granger's a rangy. She's a rangy girl. She outranged Hannah Goldy, and Hannah Goldy kind of just sat back, didn't really do shit. She lost to Deanna Belbita. Belbita was putting a bell beating on her up until I think the third round. Improv, baby. Anyways, yeah, Belbita was losing the third round. Funny enough, Goldy really put it on her. The thing about Hannah Goldy is that she sits back too damn much, and it bothers the hell out of me because she's on occasion the stronger girl, and she can really put a beating on some girls if she were to go forward, but she holds back a bit too much. That mount that she got on Belbita was pretty solid. I mean, if she had more time, she could have done some damage, but luckily nothing happened to Belbita because I bet some money on her in that fight. For Whitemire, her name rhymes with something that really describes her current 4-4 record. She's lost to Polyana Viana by submission and Amanda Hebus by submission. Those are way better competition than obviously Hannah Goldy has faced. So there is, I guess, some, I don't want to say the word value, but I understand why she is the favorite. But I think Hannah Goldy is going to take this one. Relatively same everywhere. She is at a reach and height disadvantage by a couple inches on both ends. If Hannah Goldy goes out aggressive, I think she can get Emily Whitemire out there. I think she's the stronger girl. Her striking is okay. It's good enough. I will say it's better than Emily Whitmire's, but Emily's been away for about a year or so, so we'll see how she looks, if she's improved. But I'll take the dog in this fight between Hannah Goldy and Emily Whitemire. So I've got 24 karat to win by. I'm thinking, oh man, it's obviously I want to go with decision because it's a female fight, but I do suspect that Hannah Goldy can get a finish in here, potentially a TKO or even a submission. So I will pick round 3. I think if Hannah Goldy, realistically, I'm picturing this, if she starts doing her old tricks and not doing shit, come the third round, I think she might come aggressive and actually catch Emily Whitemire and finish her in the third round. I will say by TKO punches, third round, Hannah Goldy.
Don't really have much to add. This isn't really going to be a, fireworks fight. I'd say I'll take Hannah Goldy by decision, only because I don't think she's, or rather, I think this is going to break her 2-fight skid. I don't see her submitting Emily Whitemire, and yeah, she's. Like her last 5 fights, she's won 3 by decision. She's lost the last 2, but I think she's going to get back on track with a decision win here. Yeah, this is a risky fight. This is a coin flip fight. I don't think either one is that much better than the other one. If you have to put a gun to my head, I'd say I'll take Goldy reluctantly. But I think for sure this is going to distance. I think if she wins, it's going to be by decision. If Emily Whitemire pulls it off, it's going to be like by split decision or whatnot. But they're both equally as bad, I think. And yeah, taking a side, I think here is risky. I wouldn't suggest taking any side, including it in any of your parlays, because it is women's only.
I do want to add beforehand, because I think it's pretty funny. Pretty much a loser leaves town matchup, but if Hannah Goldy loses and gets kicked out of the UFC, she does have her OnlyFans to fall back on. And the reason I bring it up, because I just recently showed you the pictures of Jessica Andrade from OnlyFans. How did you like those?
You know what? They were interesting, I think. I felt I saw them at first and I was like, oh, I thought it was kind of funny. But then when you told me, oh, you know what, it helped pay for her house and her car, and I was like, oh, that's pretty nice. I thought that was a nice move on her part. To help pay for her house and her car, and help make life a little bit easier for her. So yeah, so I thought that was I applaud her efforts. I was hoping you were going to tell me yesterday, like, oh, hey, guess what? Nisha has an OnlyFans, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Nisha, no, never mind. Misha now after 2 kids. Never mind. What's her name? What's that girl's name? It escapes me. Paige Van Zandt. That's the one.
She
I'd
already
be like,
has
oh,
one, I think.
I don't think she does. At
Oh,
least
she has
I
something
don't.
out there.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, I guess I'll do some research after the fight then.
Our next bout at bantamweight, Gustavo Lopez versus Haile Alateng. Currently, the odds on this one have it minus 125 for Alateng. Come back on Gustavo Lopez plus 105. Very close fight, this one is, because they're very evenly matched. Gustavo Lopez, pretty much a grappler. What is it? Wrestle boxer. Very good on the ground. Highly Alatang, very tough. He's got some good striking for a wrestler. So it's one of these fights where is the tougher guy, the tougher Mongolian knight, going to just take and weather the storm of Gustavo Lopez? Because I think Gustavo Lopez, if he goes out there aggressive, he might be able to. I don't think he can put away Haile Alatang. We know he's super tough. His last fight was a loss against Casey Kenny. Casey basically beat the crap out of him, brutalized his ribs. And what was super impressive yet surprising was that Alatang didn't really show it. He didn't show it in his face, anyways. His ribs were blood colored red, but he didn't show it in his face. He had a really good poker face, didn't seem to really have too much of an effect on him, which is scary when you're thinking about, fading this guy. Gustavo Lopez is going to have to consistently attack, consistently put Alateng in the back foot as well to even pull off a decision win. It's going to be tough for Gustavo Lopez, but I think he can get it done. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking Alateng, despite him being a wrestler, his striking is serviceable. And I think he does hit really hard, not incredibly hard, but hard enough to knock out Gustavo Lopez. It's going to be an interesting bout. This one's incredibly close. Obviously, the odds have it. I want to go with Gustavo Lopez, but I'm too chicken shit to pick him, especially at dog money. I do think he can get it done. I think his wrestling is the key, being very aggressive. We saw what happened to him in his last fight with Adrian Yanez. He couldn't get the wrestling going, and his striking just did not look any threat to Yanez. So if he can't get that wrestling going, it almost looked like he shut down. So I am curious to see who will have the better wrestling between these two, who will have the better, I guess, takedowns between the two. If, say, Gustavo Lopez is the one dictating the pace with the takedowns and consistently getting them, or will Alateng stuff? I don't think he'll be able to take down Gustavo Lopez. But it's one of these weird fights where if Lopez can't get the takedown, will he shell back up and just try to strike and then get in his own head, which I saw in his fight with Yanez, and then at that point, will Alateng just kind of blitz him and take him out, or at least win the rounds with those blitzes? It's a close fight. I will go with Alateng to win this one by a decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lopez pulls out that decision win. It's a really close fight. But yeah, I'm going with Alateng just mainly because he has a cooler nickname, the Mongolian Knight. So Alateng decision.
I'm actually going in the opposite direction. I'm going with Lopez by decision. While I don't think either guy can finish the other here, I think just based off of Lopez's last few losses, after coming into the UFC, he did have, some adversity, before coming into the UFC in Combate Americas and King of the Cage and such. But he never, you know, I guess he never went up against grapplers or wrestlers the level of Merab Dvalishvili. Okay, I'm going to hurt myself if I keep trying to pronounce his name. Merab D. and Adrian Yanez. So I think uh, Haley Alateng. I think he might try some takedowns, but only after maybe Gustavo Lopez. Gustavo Lopez. You know, kind of shows that he's maybe a little bit better on his feet, or I should say, good enough to get the decision on the feet. But I don't think Haley Alateng is going to all of a sudden turn into a takedown machine a la, Marab D or even Adrian Yanez. There, and by that I mean, Haley might, they might get up against the cage and, in trying to gain dominant position, maybe try to, turn around, get Gustavo Lopez against the cage and try to take him down, so you're single leg or double leg or whatnot. I don't think Haley is all that skill to all of a sudden turn into let's see who's very dominant against the cage as far as wrestling is.
Usman.
No, somebody I don't dislike that much. I would say, what's his name? The guy with curly hair, big nose. He's like a white. Shit, what's his name?
Thinking of Ben Askren. That's the only one I can
No,
think of.
Matt. I think his nickname is Maverick. His name escapes me at the moment.
Chiesa? Michael Maverick?
Chiesa. Yeah, I would say because he tends to get guys against the cage, and then just tries to wrestle fuck them, right? Anyway, I don't think Haley is that or going to turn into that anytime soon. So I think Gustavo Lopez is going to do just enough on the feet and dominate just enough to get the decision or split decision here. I don't think either guy is going to get the knockout. Least of all Lopez. I don't see Lopez as that guy. Like, all of a sudden knowing how hard to hit him on the button. Yeah, I'm going Lopez decision.
Our next bout at welterweight, we've got fight between Impa Kasanganay and Carlston Harris. Currently, the odds on this one have it at Impa minus 130. Harris comes back plus 110. Very interesting bout between these two guys. I am a bit surprised that they have Impa as the favorite on this one, mainly because of Carlston's extended experience. He's 16-4. He has the better attributes, just slightly. He's 6 foot tall compared to the 5'11" of Impa, and he has a 1-inch reach advantage on Impa. And the fact that Carlston Harris has a very, very deadly ground game. He was able to get Christian Aguilera in an anaconda choke after hurting him on the feet, which during that fight, I remember thinking like, man, I think Aguilera might have the, striking advantage and power advantage on the feet, of course. But if it ever hits the ground, because that's Carlston Harris's world, he will have a hard time dealing with those submissions, which he absolutely did. But before that, he hurt him with a nasty, I believe it was a left hook, not a left hook, I'm sorry, a left straight hand that really rocked him, pushed him back against the cage. And then he was the one who shot on Carlston Harris. As for Impa, his last win was against Sasha Palatnikov, where he got him in a rear naked choke sans the hooks, which was a bit concerning, which caused me to bet against him in his next fight against Brahima, which pulled off the submission. Awesome. And before that, of course, he had that viral knockout loss to Joaquin Buckley. And the thing about Impa, I like Impa. I wish him the best, but I think he loses this fight. I think he's very skilled for having a 9-1 record. But he's facing a guy with way more experience, which I consider to be a more dangerous guy on the feet and on the ground. If Impa attempts any takedown, say if he does get clipped by Carlston, it's going to lead to him being in multiple possible scrambles to get out of submissions. And I don't think his scrambling ability on the ground is up to par yet to really deal with the lanky arms of Carlston Harris. Impa does have the possibility of getting the knockout. Harris has been knocked out before. It's just that with his improving boxing on the feet and his striking in general, Carlston, I'm not going to lie, he looks a little goofy sometimes, but when he puts his feet down, he just plants himself and starts throwing. he can hurt Impa. So it's going to be an interesting fight. At those odds, I do predict that Harris can possibly get the knockout, if not obviously the submission. The submission's always going to be there for Carlston if it does hit the ground. If this stays primarily standing, I think Impa is the faster guy, but I think Harris has the more sneaky power. I think he can catch Impa down the line. I'm going to say round number 2. If he doesn't get him out with strikes, I think he might be able to snatch up the neck and get a choke. But I'll go with Carlston Harris by, I'll just predict it currently by TKO. I might potentially bet the submission prop for Harris, but I got him second round by finish. I'll say TKO.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I believe I'm actually taking Harris as well, but I think a second round submission is more likely with him. Impa, he's I'd say he's the stockier guy. He's very Tyron Woodley-esque in the sense that, he's a stocky guy and he has power. But if he doesn't catch you with that power in the first round, he's kind of dead in the water, especially against a guy like Harris. I think Impa's only chance to win this is if he gets the knockout in like the first 2 or 3 minutes. Because after that, I think his power is going to go down and he's not he doesn't have the credentials, to outstrike somebody, volume wise, like maybe a Max Holloway or even like a Colby Covington. That's the guy. I think if Carlton Harris can withstand that, Impa also doesn't have this guy just fought. I just saw him fight. His name escapes me. Dude, he just beat Till.
Brunson.
Brunson, Jesus.
Blonde Bomber Brunson.
Name. Yeah,
the guy that should not have been able to beat Darren Till. That guy, that Brunson.
Right. Yes, that Brunson. I'm like, his name escaped me just because I just made my way back across the border from Mexico. Thanks to my burro, we made it across. He also doesn't have, that barrage, the Brunson barrage. He can't pull that off in like, maybe once or twice a round for an entire fight. He doesn't have the cardio for it. So I think he's going to get tired by the second round. I think Carlson is going to be able to take him down either in the middle of the octagon or get him up against the cage, take him down, wear him out there, and maybe get a rear naked, get his back, maybe get a rear naked, or possibly pull off maybe another anaconda choke or second anaconda choke for the year. That'd be crazy. Or even a Darce. Who knows?
Our next bout at flyweight, we've got a bout between Aaron Blanchfield, cold-blooded Aaron Blanchfield versus Too Sweet Sarah Alpar. And reading the odds, I'm completely insulted by these fucking odds. -300 for Blanchfield comeback on Sarah Alpar. Yes. Plus 240. Out of spite, I'm going with Sarah Alpar. Fuck that. At those odds, I'm taking a shot on her. And the reason for it, after watching tape, I had no idea who Aaron Blanchfield was. I haven't really been keeping up with Invicta. So I went back and watched some of her tape, just trying to think, well, Sarah Alpar, here's how I did this shit. I am trying to justify the bet on Alpar at those odds, plus 240. So I'm looking, all right, Sarah Alpar's a wrestler. She's pretty tough. She took an ass whooping from Jessica Rose Clark. I mean, Jesus Christ. Borderline illegal knee, but I ain't here to talk that. But took an ass whooping and kept going. And then she eventually did get finished in the third round, but she's a wrestler, and that's pretty much all she is. Her striking is something, but nothing special. As for Blanchfield, I'm looking at her. I know she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. That's her main goal, is to get you down and try to submit you. Her takedown defense is pretty poor. Tracy Cortez basically grounded her out. And by ground, not meaning like ground her, I mean, he basically grinded her down and ended up getting that split decision. She did have a hairy moment where she got caught in an arm triangle, Tracy, that is. but she was able to survive. Her striking, Aaron, that is atrocious. It's really bad, but when she gets it to the ground, you see her more comfortable. She's like a fish in water on the ground, but a fish out of water when striking. Sarah Alpar has a chance to win this, and that's by avoiding the submissions, going for takedowns, getting top control, just avoiding getting swept. And at the bare minimum, if she wants to win a decision without using the wrestling, just use your counter wrestling. Keep it on the feet. I think Sarah is the heavier girl. She's fight at 135, and just looking at them, she looks a bit stockier, a little bit more meaty, opposed to Erin Blanchfield. She's very thin, which it looks as if you can really push her and then take her down very easily. I think Sarah Alpar has a way to win this as long as she doesn't fuck up with that extra money she got from Jake Paul, because she was tweeting out some shit like, "Oh, I don't have money for training." Jake Paul gave her some money for training, and then she specifically said like night and day differences for her. There is a chance that Sarah Alpar can come out here looking like a brand new woman. So I'm gonna take a shot on her just out of fucking spite and principles. I'm like, I'm not betting Erin Blanchfield. From what I've seen, she's not that great of a phenom on the ground, especially considering that, she hasn't really won by submission since, I don't know, 2 years. And yeah, I'm going to go with Sarah Alpar to win this one by decision. Might bite me in the ass, but I don't give a shit. I'm going with Alpar to win.
Yeah, I think I might make this my smallest bet of the night, just to get it out of my system. I might go with like $1 bet on Sarah Alpart, make $3. If I'm wrong, oh well. If I'm right, it's like, oh well, yeah. But this is women's MMA, and yeah, I don't see. Yeah, the odds alone, I think, put a lot of value betting on Alpar. However, I do remember quite vividly that I did bet on her against Jessica Rose Clark.
Yep, me too.
I was like, oh Jesus! I was like, what is our number one motto? Do not bet on women's MMA. What did I do? I bet on women's MMA. I bet. My bet was based on, okay, Alpar is going to be able to take Jessica down, keep her down, win the safe decision. What did she do? She ate some knees. She has no actual striking defense, and she looked like Roxanne Modafferi without the glasses out there. And so now I see her. Now her nickname to me is, Sarah, not Roxanne Modafferi Alpar. She's not Roxanne Modafferi. She's like her, but not her exactly. She's just Roxanne Modafferi. I hate to say it, but she's actually got worse striking than Roxanne Modafferi.
I mean, Roxanne's got a pretty nice right hand.
Yeah,
that's
but
funny to say.
Roxanne,
oh man,
Roxanne's footwork and overall stand-up game is just as bad as Jake Shields. Jake Shields is sure a whiz on the ground.
Hey man, Jake Shields got a really nice eye poke.
Yeah, man, it's Jesus, this is a really bad spot. I would say stay away from this altogether. But if you feel like if you have to bet on Sarah for some insane reason, or excuse me, if you have to bet on this particular fight for some insane reason that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna prove to everybody that I can predict women's MMA. Don't stay away from it. I think Sarah Alpar has enough to get the decision, at the very least, a split decision. But I don't know that she hasn't enough to completely avoid any submission attempts by Erin. And that's what that I guess that's my biggest fear in betting on Sarah, is because I know she can probably take her down, most likely will take her down, but I don't know how well she's going to do in the submission defense department. Can she get caught in a triangle? Can she get caught in a flying guillotine? Can she get reversed and get caught in a rear naked? Sure, she can. I think she will. I'm still going with her just because I guess I have to make a pick. But I'd say stay away from this. Don't bet on top. I guess they're top 50 women's MMA. Because yeah, just mind my words. Just don't bet on it.
Our next bout at bantamweight, very similar to the fight we just broke down, fight between Montel Jackson and JP Buys. The reason for it is that when you were talking, I looked up the odds. Minus 500 for Montel Jackson, come back for JP Buys, plus 375. And what's
Jesus.
interesting about this one, it's basically saying these odds are that Montel Jackson's going to come in here, destroy JP Buys, and then he'll be on his merry way to go do some thugging shit in Milwaukee. But with this one, it doesn't necessarily scream, "Hey, bet JP Buys," because there's some value there. There is some value there, and I'll explain, but not to the same extent of Alpar's versus Blanchfield. Alpar's versus Blanchfield, because there's less likely of a threat of a knockout. There's more value there just because Alpar could potentially win a decision. For JP Buys, because Montel Jackson is quite the knockout man himself, very, very solid with the hands and knees, and even the submissions. He is way more dangerous of a fight compared to the two. JP Buys has a way to win this one. He's a very solid wrestler, and Montel Jackson has had issues with wrestlers before. Brett Johns grapple fucked him into a decision loss, and Ricky Simon completely dominated him on the ground. That's my biggest issue with Montel, is that he has all these great attributes. Like, even comparing them now, he is the bigger guy. JP Buys is moving up from flyweight to bantamweight. So he's going to be the smaller guy compared to Montel Jackson. Montel's 5'10" compared to 5'5" for JP Buys. Quick, Jackson has a 75.5-inch reach compared to the 67-inch reach for JP Buys. He has everything going for him. But the thing is that I think he relies so much on his athleticism, his speed, his striking, is that he can get a bit carried away and get taken down. And I can see JP Buys grinding him out a bit against the cage. That seems to be his worst spot, is against the cage. I don't know what it is about Montel, is that he just doesn't really know what to do there, or kind of gets caught up in thinking he can reverse. It's just kind of a weird thing for Montel, that I can see him losing this fight, because JP Buys, again, he's a solid wrestler, brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Anything can happen. He is quite a bit of a savage, although his nickname is the Young Savage. He can be a savage in there. It's just that his chin has been exposed by a 125-pound Bruno Silva. He knocked him down multiple times, and it's safe to say, if Bruno Silva can do it, Montel Jackson will put him in the ground. Yes, he's moving up, more hydrated, probably can take a punch better, but Montel Jackson might more than likely actually hit him with something he doesn't see, put him out. I got Montel Jackson. Those odds are ridiculous. I'll go with knockout. I'll try round number 1 knockout, or just general knockout prop itself. But yeah, I'm going with Montel Jackson to win this one by a TKO knockout in the first round.
Yeah, I was going to say the odds at first. I think there is some value. JP Buys, in those underdog odds. But I think, to your point, there's I think more value in going with the finish for Montel Jackson. I think I'll stay away from this just because it's risky either way. The odds minus 500, that's insane. That's like a rematch between. That's like the low end of the odds of a rematch between Shevchenko and Jessica Ai. It's like rematch of the century. No, just that's probably going to be the first murder in MMA if they ever match up Jessica Ai against Shevchenko, or Jessica Ai against Nunes or something, or even Jessica Ai against what's her name, Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those odds are ridiculous. I don't understand. I honestly don't understand how Montel Jackson can be that big of a favorite. I guess Vegas was expecting a ton of money to come in on Montel Jackson. That's insanity. Yeah, I'm staying away from it. I'll go with Montel Jackson By TKO in the third, I'd say. I think he might wear out JP Buys by then. And probably knock him out against the cage.
Our next bout at lightweight, we've got a fight between Dakota Harry Bush and Zhu Rong. Currently, the odds have this one at, you remember that name, don't you?
Yeah.
Minus 125 for Bush, and Zhu Rong is plus 105. This bout has had me going back and forth multiple times just because of my, well, for one, I don't want to say utter hatred of Zhu Rong, just my disdain for his previous performance in the UFC where he came in and fought Rodrigo Vargas. And I was talking up and down like, Rodrigo's too slow. He won't be able to touch this very light on his feet striker from China. He's very young, 21, allegedly. Who the hell knows? And there he is touching him up. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I had to rewatch that fight because in my mind, I'm like, this guy looked like utter shit. And I rewatched the fight recently. I'm like, oh my God, he looks like utter shit, but it's like he did it on purpose. And I just did not understand his performance. So just to get that out of the way, Zhu Rong had a moment in that fight where he was, I guess he had back control on Vargas at one point. Vargas was on his knees, turtled, and he could have just started striking and punching him. Instead, he looks at his corner and is basically asking, now what do I do? I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Third round, Zhu Rong, on the other hand, it's almost like he stopped being a little dumbass and started striking, and he looked pretty serviceable, which concerns me. My initial pick would have been Dakota Bush. Bush, he's a guy who came in from the LFA. He had a very tough performance against Austin Hubbard on very short notice. He went after him immediately, and he looked pretty solid. You know, he was very aggressive in that fight. Just at the takedowns, slowed him down, and then eventually he just, I don't want to say he gassed because it's unfair to say that a guy gassed on short notice, but he did slow down considerably, which cost him the fight. Now, it's a very difficult fight to predict because if Zhu Rong comes into this fight fighting like he did in the third round of the fight with him and Vargas, there's a very good chance he can knock out Dakota Bush. His striking is pretty damn solid, and it pisses me off to think that he didn't use any of that against Vargas. And yeah, it's very sucky to have to pick this one and put money down. I will say stay away from it because of that reason. Because if you go with Bush, thinking that he's going to go in there and just out volume Rong, it's very possible. But again, Rong could catch him either in this late second or shit, even early, depending on which Zhu Rong shows up. And that's the question mark. Zhu Rong has potential, despite him costing me money in the past, and I'm still pissed off at him. He does have a lot of potential. He's very young. And again, if he were to make the right adjustments and have the right fight camp with the right trainers, just teaching him, hey, go out there, trust your skills, and put it on this guy, I think he can get a finish. But again, if he doesn't do that, I don't know if that's a consistent thing that's going to keep happening where he's just, I guess, trying to be like, what's his name, Anderson Silva out there, just kind of taunting a bit and not throwing much. It's like, dude, you're not Anderson Silva. Dakota Bush has a way to win this fight. Of course, is by decision grinding this guy out. There's a clear path to victory for Dakota Bush. I'm just super worried of that possibility of a knockout for Rong to hit Dakota Bush and then just put him out because Bush, he can get a knockout on Rong, but I really doubt it, man. Rong's got some pretty solid defense. It's just more so his mental idiocy. He's just kind of dumb out there. So it's up in the air. I'm gonna get bit in the ass again, but I think I'm gonna go with Zhu Rong. If he comes in here, I would say 20% better than he was his last fight. There's a possibility he can get Dakota Bush out of there, but I'm not incredibly confident. I'm not touching this one whatsoever. But I'll go with Rong to see if he makes those adjustments and just becomes a bit more aggressive, lets those hands go. Very nice left hook on this guy. We'll see how it goes, but I'll go with Rong to win by, I'm going to say, a second round TKO.
Yeah, this is a crazy matchup. I think things are going to get hairy in this fight. Man, this is a tough. Well, I don't know if you've noticed on this card so far, a lot of these fighters are coming off the loss, at least one loss.
Yes, makes it
That's what
difficult.
that's what makes it difficult. So when two fighters are coming off a loss each, or when two fighters are coming off a pair of losses or more, you're like, dude, these guys. It's like it's like who's gonna win when the New York Jets play sucky team, the Detroit Lions. It's like, oh, who's a suckier team? It's hard to say. And that's the case in a lot of these fights. It's like, oh, these guys are coming off losses. So these guys are not really all that good. It's funny because Zhu Rong, despite being the younger guy, he has 21. No, I'm sorry, I can't do math. Yeah, he has 21 fights
Mhm.
compared to 11. So he has 10 more professional fights than Dakota, Mr. Harry. Just, being 6 years older, that's kind of tough. Do you go with the experience of a younger guy, or do you go with more life experience for the older guy? It's tough. And this is, I don't know. I mean, I'm at a standstill. I don't want to just pick for the heck's sake. Actually, this is, I would say, maybe just as difficult as a pick as what's her face, Blanchfield and Alpar. However, I am going to have to go with Harry Bush, and that's because I think he lost to the better fighter in Austin Hubbard, and he lost by decision. He didn't. Well, I mean, the other guy lost by decision too, but to Rodrigo Vargas. And I don't think Zhu Rong is going to be able to dominate Harry Bush by the same way. I wouldn't say Hubbard dominated him, but I think Hubbard's overall the better fighter here, and he beat him by decision. It's not like he knocked him out or like wobbled him and then choked him out or something. So I'll go with Dakota Bush here by decision, though I think Zhu Rong is probably going to come out strong in the first round, but I think Harry Bush is going to probably be able to take over maybe in the second or third round. I think the second round is probably going to be the biggest question mark for him. Is going to be? I think it'll be the what's the word? The most difficult round maybe to judge. So he might get a split decision, but I think he will get the decision against Zhu Rong. Don't think he'll be able to choke them and knock them out. But we'll see. Maybe Zhu Rong, comes out, strong in at least the first two rounds and gets that decision. Very possible, but this is a very, very, very difficult. This is so far. The card's been very difficult to predict just because, we've got a bunch of losers on here. Apparently.
Well, our next bout has a pair of winners on it. We've got a bout at bantamweight, Nate Mayhem Maness versus Tony Gravely.
About time.
Yeah, the current odds have it at minus 190 for Gravely, come back on Maness plus 160. This is at least the second time in a row that Maness has been an underdog against a guy who may potentially lose to him. The odds are interesting because I would have predicted Maness to be the favorite, but after watching tape on him recently again, yeah, there's a good reason why he's the underdog. His fight with Luke Sanders. So it's interesting to explain to you guys how my memory works because I remember specifically the end of the fight and nothing else because I remember it like, oh yeah, Luke Sanders came in, he got clipped, got rocked. Maness took his back and submitted him with a nasty, quick, fast rear naked choke. And I remember being pissed because I bet Luke Sanders. I thought he was going to win. After rewatching that fight, Luke Sanders was beating the shit out of Nate Maness. Like he was at will rushing him and just landing. But Luke Sanders is one of these habitual fuck up artists where he makes a mistake, which he did, left his chin open, kind of, I don't want to say turned his back on Nate Maness, but he semi turned his back, just like kind of was not in front of him, got punched to fuck, and then he got his neck taken. And that's more than likely the reason why he is a underdog against Tony Gravely, who came into the UFC after, and this is kind of funny to think, he beat Ray Rodriguez by TKO in the Contender Series 2 years ago, came into the UFC and got beat by Brett Johns by submission. Brett Johns and him had a pretty entertaining back and forth ground battle where Brett Johns eventually got the better of him. And he's been on a 2-fight winning streak against guys like Geraldo de Freitas and recently Anthony Birchak. And I have to say, he did look good against Birchak, but a lot of people do. A certain fighter on this card, Gustavo Lopez, looked really good against Birchak, which that image of him destroying Birchak more than likely gave a lot of people the false impression that he was going to win against Adrian Yanez. Now, this is one of these fights where one guy looked kind of shitty his last fight, although he won spectacularly, and the other guy looked really good, but he fought lesser competition. Now, the way I see this fight going is that Gravely has to use his speed and his takedowns against Nathan Maness. The way Luke Sanders was winning is that he was bum rushing Nate Maness and just attacking him. If you give Nate Maness any space, he will find a counter on you. He has the longer reach by 3 inches, and I think his striking is just cleaner. Tony Gravely, he's very speedy, and I think he can find a good shot on Nate Maness. Maness isn't one of these guys who has like an incredible chin or his striking defense is like phenomenal or flawless. There's a way he can win this fight by strikes, but I think his main goal is just kind of grapple fucking Nate Maness. But Maness does have some solid takedown defense. He did well against Johnny Munoz Jr., who's excellent grappler, and he consistently kept getting up, defended the takedowns well later in the rounds. If Gravely can't get a takedown or Nate Maness is just kind of keen on his entries, he might be able to catch him with something, a knee, an uppercut. I think down the line, though, it's going to get pushed out to maybe the later rounds, round number 2, round number 3. And that's when I think Nate Maness, after having a very, I don't want to say exhausted Tony Gravely, just a more slowed down Gravely, just using up a lot of energy to stay away from Maness in certain exchanges. I think he'll make a mistake and get caught. I'll go with Nate Maness to win this one at dog money. I think he actually finishes Tony Gravely. I'll say maybe round number 2, like the later end of round number 2. I think he catches him with something spectacular, either finishes him with strikes, which I'm gonna go with strikes, but I still think he might be able to catch him with a submission, just because this guy doesn't leave it up to chance sometimes. If he sees that possibility of getting you out, the quickest, easiest, most efficient way, whether it be by strikes, he'll go with that. But if he can see a neck there, I think he'll snatch it up. So I'll go with Nate Maness to win by, I'll say, second round TKO. I think he catches him with something strong, wobbles Tony Gravely, starts doing a bit of a chicken dance, and then just finishes him off maybe against the cage with strikes.
Yeah, this is another David versus Goliath sort of fight. Had a 5'5" guy against a 5'10" guy. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know if that should be allowed. Oh, here we go. Montel Jackson. Yeah, it was Jackson and Baez. I forgot to mention that aside from being, living up to his nickname Quick, he is the taller and rangier, significantly rangier guy. Very similar to this fight, except that's crazy. Nate Maness, I guess has regular length arms, but Tony Gravely has like his arms are like touching the ground. His fists are touching the ground. He's only 5'5", but he has like his fists are like 5'4" or something. His arm length or whatever. So his arms are almost as damn long as Maness. That's crazy. But I think with the range and going into the later rounds, as you mentioned, a worn out Tony Gravely can and I think will be submitted. I think he might get his back. I think he'll be. I'm predicting a rear naked choke, late second, possibly third round, for Nate Maness. I mean, Nate choking out Tony. That is not Tony choking out Maness. Yeah, that could happen too. But Yeah. Oh, you know what? You never know with those long ass arms of Tony Gravely. You never know.
It's funny. I've been calling him Gravely. It is Gravely, so my bad.
Oh, Gravely. Oh, you know what? No, he is Gravely.
It is Gravely. It's
No,
Gravely.
no, I don't know. Just
It's
calling him
Gravely. You're
Gravely.
right. Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to that. It very well could be Gravely. You never know.
I'm an idiot. So yeah. Moving on to women's bantamweight, Penny Bonsai Kianzad versus Raquel Rocky Pennington. The odds on this one have it at minus 140. What the fuck? Minus 140 for Pennington. Comeback on Penny is plus 115. Did not see that one coming. Like when I'm
I
looking
did.
at, you saw that one coming? Interesting.
Well,
Because I'm,
I only saw it coming because of the name recognition for Pennington,
mm,
not
I
because
see.
she's all that. She like her skill level is like levels above beyond Penny Kianzad. I don't believe they are at this point. She's
I'm,
very she's very predictable. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah, I'm looking at the Tapology. Most people, like 70%, have it for Kianzad by decision. So I'm thinking, I would assume it doesn't always happen this way, but I would assume that the odds would be in the favor of Panny. Also, 4-5 win streak compared to the, pardon the pun, rocky road for Raquel Pennington, win loss type of record. Her last fight was a win against Marion Renault. Man, she's unpredictable. Rocky Pennington is, and not based off of her fighting style. Like she's not going to throw a flying knee, then a spinning back kick, and then go for a takedown type of shit. She's predictable in her fighting style, but she's unpredictable with her performances. As for Panny, a bit of the same thing going on with her as well. Like you expect her to do certain things and to beat certain fighters, but she has trouble with them. For example, she overperforms with people like Jessica Rose Clark and Betch Gohea. Betch in particular, she surprised me because I thought Betch would have had not necessarily the perfect game plan or fighting style to beat her, just with primarily being a boxer. Uh, but yeah, I thought she could have edged that out, but no, she surprised me against Betch. Uh, kind of scared me a bit with Soraya Eubanks, but she pulled it off. And then she really scared me against Alexis Davis. I didn't rewatch that fight recently, but my recollection was my asshole was super clenched because I'm like, oh my God, I think Alexis might be winning this one. And I think Twitter was pissed off because they had Alexis to win as an underdog. And, it was pretty damn close. Raquel Pennington, on the other hand, as I mentioned, had a decision win against Marion Renault. Then she lost to Holly Holm. I think I bet her in that fight, and she did not look good whatsoever. Holly looked like shit too. I think they were just playing. I don't know who can push harder against the cage. She beats Irene Aldana. A good example, she beat Irene Aldana in a fight where she overperformed. You expect her to come back after, losing to Amanda Nunes by vicious TKO, almost completely crippled her team after that whole performance of, hey, I'm done. And then they're like, go get the fuck back out there, bitch. Don't lose on us. Then she loses to Jermaine Duranamy, which was, another former champion, comes back and beats Irene Aldana, who was on the come up at that time. And now she, I guess, stumbled a bit, and now she's back on the come up. Then Holly Holm loses to her, and then again Marion Renault. So who knows which Rocky's going to show up? There is a clear path for her to win this fight. Of course, is that she's got the better experience. She's fought the way better competition opposed to Panny. It's just momentum. Momentum's a bitch. Panny's got it. Raquel really doesn't. And I like to think fading Raquel Pennington would be smart, especially at dog odds for Panny, the girl who is on the momentum streak. Is just that will Panny come across Raquel and that be her first stumbling block in the UFC, or I guess her second. Uh, she lost to Raging Panda, but yeah, it's a tough one for me to predict. I am leaning Raquel Pennington to win. I think she does have the better experience, fought the better competition, and I think she has a way to win this fight by implementing takedowns, just being very safe, really pushing Panny up against the cage. But again, Panny, I think she has the better, I guess, striking arsenal. It's up in the air. I'll go with the consensus and the odds makers. I'll go with Pennington to win by decision, but I'm staying the hell away from this one.
I'm taking the other side. I'm taking Panny, and not just because it sounds like panty, panty. I'm taking her because looking at Raquel Rocky's record. Even her last 5 fights, dating back to her fight with Amanda Nunes, and maybe even going back, as far as her fight with Holly Holm on that UFC 184 Rousey versus Ngannou card, which I regret going to this very day, because that was supposed to be a really good card, but it turned into a Ronda Rousey card. I think, let's see who fell out of that fight. I think it was Belfort versus Rockhold. Let me go back to that.
Or was it Weidman versus Rockhold? Weidman versus Vitor.
Yeah, there were a lot. There were, at least at the time, there were a lot of good, it was supposed to be a pretty stacked card. Weidman versus Belfort fell out. Bigfoot Silva versus Frank Mir. Jacare versus Romero. Koscheck versus Magny. Mark Munoz versus I don't know who. Ferguson, Tony versus Yancy Medeiros. It was supposed to be a really stacked card, but it turned into Ronda Rousey versus Kasanganay, unfortunately. Holly Holm, Pennington. Anyway, I vaguely remember this card. It was still okay, I guess. But Derek Lewis was on that card. I don't remember that. I don't remember him. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is, just even going back to her last 5 fights, I guess maybe last 6 fights. I don't count that win against Miesha Tate as all that much, because Miesha was apparently suffering from some personal issues with that guy that she was with. I guess they had some trouble, whatever. So that wasn't the real Miesha that she was fighting.
Brian Caraway, which I will be referencing later in this video.
Yeah. So getting beat by Amanda Nunes, Tremaine Randami, and even Holly Holm to a certain extent. She got beat by fighters who, I guess even Amanda at this point, who are pretty, I guess, well-rounded, maybe with the exception of Holly Holm. She's still more of a kickboxer.
She's more of a kickboxer now with, like, I don't know, fucking grapple fucking abilities.
Yeah. But even so, they're kind of rangy. They like the kicks. They like the kicks. What the hell? I sound like a 5-year-old. They like to kick. And they have decent footwork, right? I would say the best out of the bunch is definitely Jermaine, but anyway, she got beat. And Raquel is, I think she would do better in bare knuckle at this point, because she is not going to out grapple or out, whatever. She never bothered to work on any of that stuff. She never bothered to work on the wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Her kicks. Basically, she goes out there and half-ass boxes and kind of wins sometimes. Anyway, Penny, on the other hand, despite her loss to Avila and then having 4 straight wins, it's not, she doesn't have the best record. She doesn't have the biggest names on her resume. But if you look closely at Betch Correa, she's the closest that comes in style to Raquel Pennington, because she's very, very predictable. She has one stance. She'll come at you with some jabs and some rights. Never overhands, no uppercuts, nothing fancy. She'll try to get in close and try to dirty box you, get you up against the cage. And that's basically what Raquel will do. Very predictable. But I think if Penny mixes it up with some kicks, keeps her distance, uses angles, she'll be able to easily get the decision here. I don't know if she'll be able to knock her out necessarily, because they are comparable in size. But I think with some, with a little bit of footwork, angles, and mixing it up with the striking, she'll be able to get Raquel. But Raquel's she's gonna bring the pressure. I think she's gonna be the one pressing the action. But she's very predictable. She's not all of a sudden going to do a spinning back kick and knock Penny Kianzad, knock Penny out. So yeah, I'm going with Penny. I'm going with she's not that much younger. Damn, she's 29. Slightly younger. Wow, she has more Experience. Well, what do you know? Yeah, so I'm going with Penny here, just because I think Raquel's on her way to bare knuckle to, maybe get in that Paige Van Zant division and make a name for herself there. She's going to start knocking girls out and taking what Paige Van Zant has been working for.
Our next bout at light heavyweight, we've got a fight between Tafon the Don and Nchukwi and Slow Mike Rodriguez. And currently the odds have it at Nchukwi minus 135, come back on Rodriguez plus 110. Interesting odds. I can't say I disagree with them. Nchukwi had a bit of a shitty stumble against Jun Young Park. He got taken down a lot in that fight. Did not look very good. His striking was not able to really begin. And the Iron Turtle just took all of his shots and then kept going forward and took him down, which was an eye opener. Just because a guy who was that young in his UFC career and MMA career in general, you expect those things to happen. But I'm kind of glad it happened early. So he's aware, hey, get the shit fixed. He's only 26 years old. He's still young. Opposed to Mike Rodriguez, 32 years old, recently lost. I want to say, I'll say one of his fights, his fight with Ed Herman. I'm counting that as a win. I know you're going to go off on that later, but his loss to Danilo Marquez is one of the he wins UFC fights, goddamn it, but he's not the best fighter. I don't know how he keeps winning. Like it should have been Mike Rodriguez knocking him out, but he took him down and choked him out with a rear naked choke. And the thing about Mike Rodriguez is that we know now his name is slow because he doesn't really start off too fast. Luckily for him, Nchukwi isn't one of these fast starters as well, but this will be a striking battle between like a pretty solid Muay Thai guy and Mike Rodriguez. I love the way this guy strikes, knees to the body, elbows. Dude is very, very, very well rounded when it comes to his arsenal and strikes. As for Nchukwi, I think he's going to have the more firepower coming from a Team Lloyd Irvin. We know his kickboxing is going to be on point. Just the thing about him though is that he's still very young again in his progression in mixed martial arts. So I am worried if, say, Mike Rodriguez takes him down or some shit like that, because it could be predicted to be these firework fights between two strikers. But if any of these two were to go for a takedown, I think it'd be Mike Rodriguez because it might be the path of least resistance where he can get on top and just land elbows. So that's a possibility that could happen. I think Tafon would be the stronger guy. Both of these guys aren't the fastest guys, but between the two of them, I think I might give a slight edge to Nchukwi. It's going to be an interesting bout. I'm predicting the under just because, no, that's not very smart. I think the over might be the smart money, depending on what the odds are. If it's over 1.5, I think that might be a smart play if it's at plus money, because these two guys won't be very anxious to, start slanging and banging. This one's tough to predict because Mike Rodriguez absolutely needs this win to stay in the UFC. It might cut him some slack because of that Ed Herman loss and give him one more shot. But who the hell knows? Dana White just got 5 dudes from the Contender Series. So although I don't think any of those were light heavyweight, they're bringing dudes in and shipping dudes out. It's a tough one for me to predict. But I think I'll go with Nchukwi, the younger guy. I think he will learn from his mistakes in his last fight and just be a bit more careful when it comes to, obviously, the takedown defense. And he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. And if he does come out here aggressive against a slow Mike Rodriguez, he can get an early knockout. I don't predict that happening. I think Nchukwi might win this one by a decision. Both of these guys, I think, are going to be too afraid to engage because, again, 2 strikers. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I will go with Tafon and Nchukwi to win this one by a decision.
I'm actually taking the other side. I'm going with Mike Rodriguez. And he technically is, or I should say, maybe technically is not the word, but morally, maybe, he's on a 1-fight losing streak because that loss to Baby Stipe, I'm not counting that loss, and they shouldn't either, because that guy is a piece of garbage. I would say he's a turd, but he's too pale to be a turd. I've never seen a turd that pale, or with a turd with ginger hair growing out of it. Well, that'd be pretty funny to post on Instagram. Maybe I'll just post him. I don't know. But I think Rodriguez here. Yeah, it's funny you say that. He's getting maybe one more chance, and how the UFC is looking at it. This is recruitment season. With Dana White's Contender Series, so they haven't yet gotten a bunch of light heavyweights in, but he's got to make a good impression here. He is officially on a 2-fight losing streak. After the baby Stipe loss, they gave him another chance with Danilo Marquez. He got submitted. There was no controversy there. He didn't. Danilo Marquez didn't pull some lame ass shit. But he did get submitted. That is, it wasn't a good look. He was getting his next chance there to right, not necessarily right the wrong that was committed against him, but just set his fighting career back on, back in gear, back on the right path. He failed there. So if he gets knocked out or if he loses, through a very dominant decision, getting his ass beat for 3 rounds, I think this might be the end for him. So I think he's going to come out somewhat careful in the first round. I know Teflon might come. I don't think he'll come out guns blazing, but I think he'll come out with a little bit more conviction with the strikes in the first round. But I think Mike, if he doesn't get knocked out in the first round, I think he might just due to not tons of volume, but just having more volume with Teflon or against Teflon, I should say. We'll get the decision in those 2 rounds. I think Teflon's best path to victory is to get that knocked out in the first round. He is not a volume guy. I don't see him as being a volume guy. His style doesn't, he isn't a what's that guy's name? Shit, escapes me. It's lightweight, but anyway, he isn't, that volume guy who will just rack up, ridiculous amount of strikes. He's a power guy, so if he doesn't use that power correctly in the first round, he's just going to get decisioned, in the next 2 rounds, because I think Mike Rodriguez, as you mentioned, has a better arsenal at his disposal. He has the kicks, he has the knees. I think if he mixed in some takedowns, with some ground and pound and some possible submission attempts, he'd be in a lot better position than he is now. And at the very least, learn some better. Tell Lauzon to teach you some better submission defense, man. He trains at Lauzon Mixed Martial Arts. What the hell is Lauzon teaching him? Is he teaching him like joke combinations? Like is he like when he takes is he giving them those squeaky shoes, so everybody knows when he's in the gym or something? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Anyway,
Kung Pao enter the fist.
Yeah, they're teaching him. They're training him the wrong way as a joke. I don't know, man. You got to tell Lauzon to get on that jujitsu train with you. But anyway, what do I know? I'm not his manager, nor am I a jiu-jitsu coach, or a MMA coach. So what the hell do I know?
And before we begin the main card, I'd like to ask, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Love reading those fucking comments, man. It's pretty fucking funny. Some of them are. Keep it up. We really appreciate it. I'm trying to quit my goddamn job. So help us reach the 200 subscribers, and I'll be on my way there nearly. But we'll begin the main card between a banger fight between Joaquin Numanza Buckley and Antonio Arroyo. Currently, the odds have it at -200 for Buckley and +165 for Arroyo. Interesting bout. And I'll cut this one really, really short. Buckley should win this one. The odds say so. He I think is just the more volume guy, the more power guy. The only problem is that he's fucking short. He's 5'10", opposed to the 6'3" Antonio Arroyo. Antonio Arroyo, on the other hand, if you look at it in the opposite end, is there value on this really tall striker? Potentially, yes. And the reason for it is that he can throw a fucking head kick. And the head kick that caught Joaquin Buckley by Alessio Di Chirico, which is, I have to bring this up, kind of funny that Razak Al Hassan knocked out Di Chirico by a head kick after he just head kicked, Buckley. I thought that was kind of poetic. Like, you took the man's height, bro, and now he took your soul. But this one concerns me slightly because Antonio Arroyo, he is a taller guy. Getting that knee up to land on Buckley's chin, very possible. Throwing that head kick, very possible. Who the hell knows with this one? But yeah, the way I see it, Buckley should just attack the body as he does. Dude is like a Mike Tyson in MMA form. He goes forward, he attacks the body. He has almost endless cardio, which is crazy because he's always throwing really hard. Like his fight with Kevin Holland is one of my favorite ones because he continuously goes after Kevin Holland like he does not give a fuck. Like he's just gonna go out there and bang you up. And the problem with Antonio Arroyo is that he gasses out, and he just recently had a fight with a shorter guy, much shorter than Joaquin Buckley in Deron Win. Like problem is that that was a takedown heavy guy, and he gave those up incredibly easily. Like your slutty girlfriend from high school right before prom starts, like, hey, maybe we should wait after prom ends. Like, no, I'll suck your dick now. It's it was just like, what the fuck are you doing, Antonio? Like, get the fuck back up. He's so short. Draw a flying knee. Antonio just had nothing for Deron Win, and they were both gassed. And Antonio's a gasser. Joaquin's not really a gasser. We haven't seen him really push to that point yet, but from what I've seen, he does not get tired. He'll continuously go after you. And I think he's powerful enough to even get his own takedowns. And yeah, he's given up a lot of height, 5'10" compared to 6'3". But what the fuck's going on with these short dudes and long ass arms? 76-inch reach for Buckley. Arroyo against 6'3", 73.5-inch reach. So who the fuck knows with this one? Buckley, I see him just beating his ass, maybe getting a TKO. I think he might attack the body, get him incredibly tired. That would be the smart game plan, is just batter the body of Arroyo and just gas him out because he is a gasser. His physique is phenomenal, but the dude just doesn't put in his miles. And yeah, I think Buckley can win this one by a second or third round TKO. The only issue, of course, is, dude, watch your fucking chin. Don't get overexcited. Don't believe your own hype like you did with Chirico. And, just protect the top of your fucking head from that head kick. And I think you should be okay. But we'll see how this goes. But I got Buckley to win. TKO strikes, I will say third round.
I got Buckley by decision. I don't know if you'll be able to knock him out. That'll be not. It's not impossible, but who knows with those Dalzim arms. Yeah, I see Buckley hitting him with the harder shots. The only reason he didn't, Kevin Holland didn't go down is because Buckley didn't have any actual takedowns to offer in that fight. If he had at least one takedown, he would just kept him down, hit him. But I think Buckley is the better striker. I think he's the harder striker. And goddamn, I mean, he doesn't have to be as tall as him. He just needs to hit him in the body. And then he just needs to duck under his guard and hit, he can hit him with an uppercut while sitting down, apparently. Man, he has long ass arms. Kind of like, I think he'll hit him. I don't know if you've seen Goldust as of late. He has that move where he falls down on the mat and then hits guys like an uppercut.
Yep.
I don't know how to explain that. But yeah, for him hitting him like that, I'll be fine. But yeah, I'll take Buckley by decision. I don't know if he'll be able to knock him out, but who knows? Arroyo might be on his way out as well. I don't think he seems like he's heading anywhere toward the top. Oh no, wait, this is middleweight. I'm sorry. For some reason I thought we were still at light heavyweight. Yeah, no, I don't think he's heading toward the top 10 of middleweight anytime soon, or even top 50 at this point. I think this might be his last shot. Um, Sucks for him. He has to go up against Buckley. But unless he's been working on his crow cop, left high kicks, or not even high because he's way taller than him, just his crow cop, left sort of is it a switch kick at this point? No, it's not a switch kick. Crow cop's left kicks were just kickboxing kicks. Anyway, short of him knocking Buckley out with, a very hard, landing a very solid, hard head kick or something, or even a liver kick would be awesome. Yeah, I think Buckley's going to dominate all 3 rounds.
Our next bout at lightweight, we've got a fight between Christos, the Spartan Giagos, and Armin. I'm not going to pronounce that fucking nickname, Tsarukyan. Currently, the odds have it at, holy shit, minus, that's all over the place with these odds. Some places have it minus 600, some places have it minus 760, other places have it minus 820. I'll go with these minus 820 for Armin Tsarukyan to come back on Christos Giagos plus 570. And that's crazy to think because those odds should say Tsarukyan comes in here, touches him once, and then it's like the finger poke of doom. He goes down on the ground. He just taps out. I don't think that's going to happen. So those odds are crazy for Tsarukyan. I think he will get it done, though. I think he has the better overall game. He's a very Khabib-esque fighter. This guy is very good wrestling. He went to a decision with Islam Makhachev. Very fun back and forth fight. Very grappling heavy affair. Clearly, Islam won that one, but I think that fight was a lot closer when it comes to like the rounds. Maybe one. I do still think I can't remember which round, but I would give one round to Armin Tsarukyan. But yeah, it was very awesome. Very very good display for his UFC debut. And then as of late, he's just been displaying his dominant wrestling, and his stand up is catching up. And for Christos, with him, this is his second or third stint in the UFC. Comes in and recently is on a 2-fight winning streak. And I think this is really fucking funny. Carlton Maness, since his loss to Drakkar close by unanimous decision, his first win on a win streak for Christos Giagos was against Carlton Maness, where he came in on short notice and was still like a minus 300 favorite against Carlton Maness, which was insane. Beat his ass, of course. Carlton Maness is gone from the UFC, but that's a win over Carlton Maness. It's almost like a nothing win there. His next win was against Sean Soriano. Very interesting bout. Sean took the fight on short notice. Now there's the opposite going on. Sean's coming in on short notice. Sean's a much better fighter, and he was on a solid win streak. Very good not wrestler. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else. He's a very good striker. And then he eventually gets Sean in a Darce choke and chokes him out. So there is a bit of an asterisk when it comes to Giagos. Like, he's fighting a bum in Carlton Maness, and then he's fighting a guy on short notice in Sean Soriano. So it does led me to believe, yeah, I understand why the odds are the way they are, but he still possesses a lot of power, and he's still a skilled guy. Although I think Tsarukyan is very, very dominant in his game. His takedowns are beautiful. His entries are beautiful. He can get you down in multiple different ways. And if he wants to get you down, he will get you down. It's not going to be one attempt. It's going to be multiple attempts, and he's going to chain them together. Again, very much like Khabib. And his striking, again, it's getting better and better each and every time. And there's a chance, yes, that Christos can crack Armin, because Matt Frivola touched him up a little bit. And it wasn't like, oh my God, incredibly obvious that Armin was hurt, but he didn't like that punch. And it leads me to believe that if he gets cracked, he might be able to take a bad shot, gets caught in something, either an uppercut, and just gets put in a world of shit. But Armin, I think he has to have a flawless performance when it comes to those odds. And there's really no value in picking this guy other than maybe by a decision or even by a finish. Christos does gas out later rounds. He's a very muscular dude. He throws a lot into his punches. I think as he's getting older, he's 31 years old. He's kind of learning to manage his gas tank. He's going to be the taller guy in there against Tsarukyan, but I don't think that's going to matter. He's not going to be tall when he's on his ass. And yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting bout. I will go with Tsarukyan, of course, to win by decision, but at those odds, man, minus shit 820 in certain sports book for a guy to win by a decision ain't fucking worth it. So I'll go with Tsarukyan to win this one. I wouldn't even include him in a parlay at those odds, depending on what your odds are with whatever you're doing, my bookie, bet DSI, whatever the fuck. It's probably not worth it. So I'll still go with Armin to win, but maybe for fuck, I'll play Christos to win this one. Why the hell not? $5 might get me something. So we'll see. But yeah, Tsarukyan by decision.
Yeah, this is a bad fight to bet on because we're talking about Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm odds, and we all know what Holly Holm did to Ronda. But on the flip side, we're talking like Shevchenko versus anybody but the OnlyFans lady. What's her name? Andrade. Yeah, these odds are ridiculous. Minus 900. Yeah, sure, he's gonna win, but come on. I mean, were they expecting like a ton of money to come on in this guy? I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess he is. Well, it looks like he's number 14 lightweight. So I guess he is making his way up to the top. Let's just hope he doesn't go train at a Glendale Fighting Club, to sharpen his skills.
If he does, I'm betting everything on Christos.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if I see that, what's that guy's name with the sleepy eyes? The head trainer at Glendale Fighting Club,
Edmund Shabal. No, that's the other Edmund Tarvarian. There you go. Every time I hear Edmund, I automatically say Shabazian for whatever fucking reason, but it's Tarvarian.
Yeah, if I see Tarvarian in his corner, or at the weigh-ins or something, man, immediately bet on Giagos. I'd say put your take out a second mortgage and putting on Giagos at that point. But short of that, Armin is most likely set to win on this one, fairly easily, depending on how hard Giagos is taking this fight. But at those odds, yeah, man, it's unless you have money to burn, I'd say don't include him in any parlays. And for sure as hell, don't bet him straight. That's insanity.
Our next bout at women's flyweight, it's been rebooked. This was supposed to happen on the Till versus Brunson card, but it got moved up to this card. Mandy Monster Bohm versus Aryan Queen of Violence Lipski. And the odds currently have it at near pick'em, minus 115 for Lipski. Come back on Bohm is minus 105. And we discussed this one semi-briefly last week or so. Mandy Bohm, striker, Queen of Violence, also allegedly a striker, also allegedly a grappler. But we've seen what happened to her as of late. She's never really taken off in the UFC. Very pretty girl, beautiful woman. It's just that her reputation of the Queen of Violence, I think, has hurt her. Either because she's trying to prove something to herself by going out there and fighting a certain style, very aggressive, very strike heavy. It's not been the best for her. She's on a 2-fight losing streak, and both of these have been by TKO ground and pound. And she hasn't really been a very, I guess, scary striker either, because she lost to Molly fucking McCann. And Molly, she's awesome, right? She recently got a fight of the night bonus check. She doesn't seem to give a fuck, and she just goes after you, throwing, bombs at you. So it's not the worst loss on her record, but her being a striker and losing to Molly McCann is problematic. As for Mandy Bohm, she is undefeated and making her UFC debut. I think it's going to be pretty easy for Mandy Bohm to come in here. I don't think Ariane Lipski has the right training to win this fight. Her ground game is serviceable. Like, she did get that nasty knee bar on Luana Carolina, but that was more Luana giving it to her other than anything else. But yeah, I think Mandy is going to be the faster, more aggressive striker. There's a possibility Lipski can catch Mandy, but I really doubt that. With the amount of damage that she's taken as of late on the ground, TKOs and whatnot, I think her chin is just not going to be able to withstand just anything from Mandy. Not to say that Mandy's going to destroy her, but I think Mandy's just going to be the tougher girl. Her chin's going to hold up a lot better if they do get in this crazy exchange on the feet, which I think that's the reason why it's on the main card, because we're expecting that, or they're expecting some sort of crazy like stand up out between these ladies, which can be very fun and wild and shit. But yeah, I think Mandy will either get the better of these striking exchanges, and if she doesn't, if she feels some sort of threat or just kind of clinches up with Ariane Lipski and just kind of feels her out and says, you know what, I'll take her down and pound her out, I think she'll do that. So I'll go with Mandy to win this one by a second round TKO. I'm going to say she will get a takedown somehow, either by a slip. I guess that wouldn't count as a takedown, but she'll get her down somehow and then just pound her out on the ground.
Not sure why they put this fight so far up the card. I would have said put the Pennington card here. Switch places with them. I think there's more recognition, and it's probably a better fight. This is, I'd say, even the Blanchfield Alpar fight would have been a better fight to put in this spot. Not sure why it's.
You've gone too far now.
Yeah, this is a coin flip fight. I mean, this could be Mandy Bohm's coming out party in the UFC, or it's going to be Ariane Lipski's two-fight skid, where she breaks her two-fight skid. More likely than not, I think Mandy Bohm is going to come in here. I guess take over is too strong a word, but she's going to get at least maybe two of the rounds. I don't know. Maybe Ariane Lipski has it in her to take either the first or the third round or something, knowing that her most likely her UFC tenure is at stake. But this fight is bad. I mean, I get depressed just looking at it on the card. I mean, if I have to take a side, I'll take Mandy. But I think this is a coin flip fight. I don't think either girl is going to get very far. I mean, according to Topology, Mandy's number one in Germany. I mean, good for her. But this is a UFC, man. You're coming up against. I don't know if she'll ever get into the top 10 or whatnot. Who knows? But she's in for a lot tougher competition that she's faced. So, I don't know. We'll see. So I'll reluctantly take Mandy Bohm by decision. But for sure, I'd say probably stick with the over and that this fight goes the distance. Those are probably better bets, regarding this fight.
Our next bout at light heavyweight, co-main event, Ion Cutelaba, the Hulk, versus Brown Bear Devin Clark. And currently the odds are a lot closer than I thought they were going to be. It's a minus 140 for Cutelaba, comeback on Clark, plus 115. I really thought this was going to be like minus 200 for Cutelaba. And you kind of understand where I'm going here. I'm going to go with Cutelaba to win this one by a TKO knockout, round number 1. That's the only way to go with this one, because it gets a lot hairier after that. So the way I see this happening is that we know what Cutelaba wants to do. He wants to strike. And if he doesn't want to strike, he wants to try to grapple. I don't think he's going to want to grapple with Devin Clark. Devin Clark, motherfucker, has tree trunk legs. He's a good striker. He's not a good striker. Sorry. He's a good wrestler. And he has some power on him coming from that ass and them legs. So there's a chance, Devin Clark could extend the rounds, right, and get Cutelaba tired. But that's not fun. That's not fun to predict. It's a possibility for sure, because, Cutelaba has been one of these guys who's like hot and cold. Like, there's expectations from this motherfucker. You expect him to do certain things. Like, you expect him to get a knockout, which he may or may not get. So he got that with Roundtree, took him down, pounded him out, made it look easy. I'll give him that. He was very game with Magomed Ankalaev, despite him, playing possum and making a fool out of himself with the first fight. And then, the second fight, he didn't necessarily make a fool out of himself, but Ankalaev really gave him the, I guess, I want to say shit sometimes, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't, just emasculated him essentially in the second fight. Dustin Jacoby beat the crap out of Dustin Jacoby in the first round, got tired, and then became a split decision. Shit like that does scare me. The thing is, we're betting against Devin Clark's chin. Devin Clark's been rocked, dropped, submitted, beat up. He makes a lot of mistakes in there, but he does surprise you sometimes. He beats guys like Daquan Townsend, which he absolutely should have beat, but he was super, super scared to engage with that guy. And then he beats Alonzo Menafield, which is crazy. Alonzo should have gone in there and knocked him the fuck out in the first round, but he also got tired. And then Brown Bear took advantage of that and then edged out the decision win. I'm afraid that could happen here with Cutelaba if he blows his wad too early, which he is known to do, and if he doesn't get the finish. But odds are, I think he will get the finish in the first round. He'll just blitz him. He has the wrestling, but I don't think he will try the wrestling because he's afraid of getting tired. That Dustin Jacoby fight should have been an eye opener. And knowing that Dustin Jacoby just recently beat the absolute living shit out of junior British version of Tyron Woodley, the Dennis Stewart, it looks like a better, not necessarily a win, but it's better on his record that it was a draw, opposed to, if it would have been a win, it would have been way better. But yeah, draw, it makes it look better. It shows that guy's really tough and a very good fighter. So yeah, he should win this one by a first round knockout. Yeah, I wouldn't judge anyone for taking Devin Clark. I think he is live, but again, I'm betting against his chin. It's bitten me in the ass multiple times in the past, but I think this time it will actually pay off. So I'll go with Cutelaba at those odds. I think they're pretty solid. Cutelaba first round TKO by poking out and just cracking Brown Bear with something nice.
This is a coin flip fight. I don't think both of these guys are bad. I mean, yes, Cutelaba.
I need to ask, are you worried by any chance? Because I kind of am that Devin Clark could catch Cutelaba.
Yeah, if Cutelaba acts stupid and he does one of his, he comes out with one of his antics, during the weigh-ins and like grabs him by the neck, like if he's gonna make out with him, or if he's screaming at him and spits at him and doing something stupid like that, trying to act, uber aggressive like he does in fights, or like plays possum like he did with Ankalaev in the first fight, and then got his ass beat in the second fight. Yeah, man, this guy is known more for his stupidity than he is, for being a great fighter. More so his aggressiveness and his stupidity.
Do you know why that is?
I don't know. I think his mom beat him with a not a stick, with a branch or something when he was a kid. He's like, Cutelaba, go get the branch.
I'll tell you why he's kind of dumb. Is because he looks just like Brian Caraway if he was 205 pounds.
Oh shit, you're right. I see that.
Those guys tend to make some bad decisions, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see that Edgar haircut. The Edgar. Are you familiar with the Edgar haircut?
The Edgar haircut? No.
Okay, I'll send you a picture later.
All right.
Or just Google it right now if you can. Edgar haircut. Yep, you'll see. Yeah, if you Google Edgar haircut, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the 21st century bowl cut, sort of. Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it. He does kind of have that. I think he's bald now though, which is a bit misleading. Cutelaba, that is. No. He shaved his head.
Yeah, but he's got sort of the Edgar haircut going on. Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, he's not anybody I'd see as a favorite in any fight going forward. Yes, he's aggressive. Yes, he's but I don't know, man. Even against Devin Clark, it's hard for me to say, yeah, Cutelaba is going to go in there and dominate. But it's hard because Devin Clark in his last fight against Anthony Smith, Smith is a lot more skilled than Cutelaba everywhere, realistically. Smith had a skid of his own, but but he has patience, and he has that whole don't give up sort of thing. I don't know, man. It's hard to pick Cutelaba. I'm only going with Devin Clark here, because I don't really like Cutelaba, to be honest. I don't like his style of fighting. I don't like his stupid antics. And I don't know. I think the UFC could do without him. He's not really going anywhere. I don't think he'll ever get close to a title fight or close to the top 10, as bad as the light heavyweight division is. I don't know, man. I see him as maybe being a future BKFC champion, if anything. He's still 27, so he still has time. I'm only going with Devin Clark because I like to see him win, and Cutelaba could care less about.
Well, Devin's got to do it for Judy.
Yeah, man.
Our next bout, main event of the evening, Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Ryan Superman Spann. And the odds on this one have it at minus 165 for Anthony Smith comeback, plus 140. Interesting bout between these two guys. And funny enough, for a while now, because I've been following Anthony Smith's career for some time, I've always been curious, like, this dude looks half black. And I've always been like, I don't know why it's been bothering me. Not even bothering, it's the wrong word, but I've been curious to know. Can never really find any concrete evidence. And just recently he came out and said, like, yeah, I'm half black. After he said something along the lines of like, Superman Spann is trying to act like a big tough black dude or something like that, trying to intimidate him. And then I'm like, oh shit, Anthony Smith is now confirmed to be half black, so I can't be his fan anymore. I'm kidding. But yeah,
I'm sorry. I think you meant we. Okay, I'm also kidding.
Just joking. No, I've been a fan of Anthony Smith for a while. I like his style. I've always been a fan of him. I have a really soft spot for Anthony Smith. And what's funny enough, I've been picking against him for the last few fights, and he's been proving me wrong, which is good. It's like a win-win almost, but I bet against him. Ryan Spann, on the other hand, this guy came into the UFC guns a-blazing, man. He wrecks Antonio Little Nog Nogueira, just uppercuts him to hell. He submits Devin Clark. Funny enough, both of these guys have a submission win over Devin Clark. It's just funny as shit to me. Then Sam Alvey makes Sam Alvey look good because he goes to a split decision with him, and then he goes full, no other word to say it, of course, full fucking retard against Johnny Walker, and he gets TKO'd. That was a fight that he could have easily won. He was on his way to win, but he makes mistakes, and then he gets caught, and then he gets back on track by destroying Misha Serkinov. He made me some money that night, not a whole ton, but enough for me to be happy, and I'm happy about that. Ryan Spann is a anomaly. Like, blatantly, we know what we're going to get from Anthony Smith. He's going to be incredibly tough. He'll find a way to win somehow. He's very good off of his back. He's very good with his submission game. He really goes after you. The problems with Anthony Smith are that he has, I don't want to say durability issues, but there's ways to break him down that are very well known, hitting the body and just overall punishment with concussive blows, like what happened with him and Teixeira. Those punches really did a number on him, and it just not good to see. His not hesitancy, but his acceptance of being on the bottom sometimes could be his issue. Like with Alexander Rakic, he just either could not get back up after getting taken down, or really played too much of the bottom game with him. With Ryan Spann, he should win this fight because I think he is not necessarily the better fighter, but he has the better attributes to win this fight. He's got a longer reach. He's got an 81.5-inch reach compared to the 76-inch reach for Anthony Smith. He's going to be the bigger, stronger guy in there. He's the younger guy as well, not by much, but still a younger guy. He has a lot more to prove. I think he's got the better striking. I think if he were to take down if Ryan Spann were to take down Anthony Smith, he should be able to control him on top, even land some of his ground and pound. But Ryan Spann makes stupid ass decisions sometimes in the cage, and he's been kind of a bit suspect on how he's been talking about Anthony Smith. I'm kind of afraid he's taking him a bit too lightly. because he's not one to be fucked with. He's mentioned as well that he wants to get fights over with immediately because of his mom, doesn't want his mom to worry. Cute and all, but that is that's I don't know, man. I don't like hearing that type of shit. What happens if this fight gets extended? Anthony Smith has a lot of experience in 5 round fights, so it's clear for me that I have to pick Anthony Smith. For those of you keeping track of my Anthony Smith picks, anytime I pick him, he loses, and every time I pick against him, he wins. So, make your own judgment. But I got to go with Anthony Smith just because of the experience, his ability to really grind through a lot of shit and come after you. He can be losing a fight or just barely losing a fight, like his fight with what's his name, with Gustafson, very close in Gustafson's backyard, and he found a way to get him out of there with a submission. Same thing with what's his name, No Time, Volkan Uzdemir, very close fight. He dug deep and got the win. Uh, just because he got his ass beat by Glover Teixeira doesn't necessarily mean he's completely done. He got grapple fucked by Alexander Rakic. We didn't expect that either. And then as of late, he's really showed that he's not done yet. Yeah, he's still kicking in there in the light heavyweight division. I'll go with Anthony Smith to win this one by, I think he's going to actually knock out Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann, he's not the most durable guy sometimes. I think, again, if he fights the right fight, he can win it, possibly even stop Anthony Smith. But Anthony Smith is a lion heart for a reason. So I'll go with him to win by 3rd round TKO.
I'm actually going with Anthony Smith, but by submission. I think Ryan Spann is, as you mentioned, going to be a similar matchup that he had with Gustafsson. And for some reason, whenever I read Ryan Spann's nickname, in my head, I'm always pronouncing it with a TH instead of an S.
Superman.
Yeah. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with
Mike Tyson.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just read it with a lisp for some reason. I read his last name with a lisp too. So Ryan Superman Spann. Anyway, that's how it sounds in my head. Very strange, but so the matchup itself, I think Anthony Smith is actually better all around. I think Ryan Spann maybe has a little bit of speed advantage. But as far as technical skill on the feet, and if it goes to the ground, I think Anthony Smith is going to have the advantage everywhere. And especially if it goes to the ground, I think he will be able to use his jiu-jitsu prowess to get a rear naked choke on him. I think he'll be able to take Ryan Spann's back, and he'll be, he'll be I guess it's not a turtle because turtles are already on their bellies. What's on its belly that won't? He'll maybe be like a seal out of water. I don't know. I don't know how else to. They're like. Anyway, he'll be out of his element. And Ryan Spann, man, that I would say his record isn't too bad, but his last fight wasn't really impressive. Misha Cirkunov isn't exactly a contender. Johnny Walker, Jesus Christ, getting knocked out by Johnny Walker in that fight. Oh my God. And then making Sam Alvey look like the world beater. This is all happened within like the last year and change. So yeah, Anthony, and in that same last year and change, Anthony Smith, he lost to Glover and Rakic, but then he made his way back up by especially beating Jimmy Crute with that, nasty leg kick. I had Jimmy Crute beating that, winning that fight, but bam, I mean, Anthony Smith showed, he's got a lot more tricks up his sleeve. And so Ryan, that's one more thing that Ryan Spann has to be wary of, those low kicks from Anthony Smith. His striking, like I said, isn't the best, but Anthony Smith is just better all around. I think he's a more complete striker. And so I think he's actually going to get him by submission. I don't think Ryan Spann has ever gone 5 rounds.
Well, not in the UFC. I'm not sure outside, but yeah, for sure in the UFC, never gone 5.
Yeah, county jail doesn't count, man. Um, yeah, man. Anthony Smith, I think he definitely has the advantage here. This isn't prison rules or anything, so he is going to pick apart Ryan Spann until maybe getting that rear naked sometime in the third or fourth round.
I'm really looking forward to it. Like Brian Spann's, he's no slouch when it comes to jujitsu, but yeah, I think Anthony Smith completely has all the advantages when it comes to jujitsu. So should be a hell of a fight. Always rooting for Anthony Smith, but we'll see what happens. But those have been our picks for UFC Fight Night Smith versus Spann. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, show some love to your favorite Tiger Bums. And that's been us, Johnny and Jose, Tiger Bomb MMA, and we'll catch you at the next fight.